Just kind of as a quick refresher, because I want to spend a lot of the time discussing this, we took a look at during the last presentation on new directions in student communicating with students. We took a look at Yarly, who's Pronto, and I'll show you what we've done with Pronto, which is an instant messaging client since we were last together. We also took a look at a survey, which I still think is incredible when you look at the number of students that are responding to these surveys in Blackboard. They're obviously using it. Like 10% of our students are responding to these surveys at least. So that's a pretty good return. And an overwhelming percentage of them are using mobile text messaging. So we took a look at that. Also, we took a look at how what we're talking about relates to the Learning College principles. And the two ones we focused in on were number 2 and number 4, using these tools to engage the learners. And we showed you what had just started at the time was a GRCC Facebook page. And I mentioned to you last time we haven't advertised that at all. We still haven't advertised that, and we've grown probably by 90 or so students not saying a word about it. And one of the things we want to talk in terms of recommendations is what to do with it. Because it's there, it has the tools for us to do things with. There's tons of other GRCC groups out there. Student organizations are using them. TRIO is using them. Lots of different organizations on campus are using these Facebook groups. Just some things that have happened since the last time that we met. We're also incorporating this into professional development for faculty. We've now offered a couple sessions on teaching and learning with Facebook. It's a popular session. We've had people on the waiting list to get in. We haven't advertised it at all. Folks are enrolling in. Hilda's part of the group here. And one thing that we've also went out and done, and we put it on this page, and let's see if my sound will work here. We went out and interviewed some students because we thought perhaps that would be good to know what students think about communicating with Facebook. So let's see if this will actually play. Hopefully we're not muted. Yeah, can you turn that up maybe a little bit? All right.
He's a student there and also at GRCC. Nate, do you use Facebook?
Yes, I do.
What do you use it for?
I use it for social networking. I don't really start out to be, joining groups and stuff is fun. I don't really use it seriously like I wish I could sometimes, but it's my main resource to stay in touch with people else who go to college in Chicago or, Mount Pleasant.
You ever use it while you're on campus in class?
Definitely, it's the best tool for boredom, I think. You're definitely solid. Just reading stuff.
Have you ever used it for class in any way?
For class? None of my professors so far have engaged really. A couple of my professors actually on Facebook, and I found them on. We talked a little bit about what projects we do, but as far as completely placing that face-to-face interaction, it hasn't gotten in.
Yeah. Honestly, how do you feel about professors and Facebook?
I think it's great. You can definitely be at a more personal level with them. See what they're doing with like their family, see like their just like us. They're not teachers or any other with students.
If a faculty member were to use Facebook to teach with, what kind of things would you like to see them do with it?
I'd like to see a lot of posted items like videos about things. Like if I was taking a certain class, they had kind of a video tutorial or a lesson on Facebook.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nate.
All right. Nate is not one of my students, so when I said, how do you think about professors, you'd think he'd just feel pressured to respond to me.
You're ethically.
Right. Although he works for me. And so we asked some students, and then we also went around, and Nate brought up a good point about using Facebook in class, and so of course, here's just kind of I started poking my video camera in the back of classrooms because why? I guess I like that. I don't know. But you can see they're all supposed to be working, and this gal right here who's turning in her work, she's been on Facebook the whole time. So I didn't get close enough to see who it is, but basically that's the idea. So they're definitely on it in the hallways, in class, out of class, and we're tracking what they're doing. Some exciting new things that have happened since we last met. We had this AT&T grant, and a number of you asked me what is that miniature laptop I had last time I was here, and we ordered those through LRTS, and that's the EPC 900. It has a webcam in it, and we actually fielded them to a group of students and just said, here's a Facebook page, go do what you do. And so they took the laptops to this conference. This was a student leadership conference. I believe it was in Chicago. And they were all, during the conference, they had these out. They were posting photos and different things and using them as a communication tool, which is what we intended for. One of the students up there is in my class, and she came back. She was very excited about being given the opportunity to use these tools to learn with. So much so that Vicki and I have had some recent conversations that there's so many different notebooks out there now that are in such a low price range that trying to get these laptops out to, starting to get into recommendations here, but to more students other than outside this grant would be an awesome idea. They really, I know they seem to feel obligated to use them as a communication tool if you give it to them. I mean, they'll use it for other things too, but they really seem to be interested in using them for some of the things we intend for. Another thing that's happened, boy, a lot has actually happened. We've actually put in a building block into Blackboard that allows for announcements and content and stuff to be posted into Facebook. So over on the left there's a link to Facebook Course Feed and Blackboard Sync. Those are the two tools that we tested, put in implementation, and now a number of classes are using those to feed Blackboard content to students, all students. And also Wimba Pronto. This has really been exciting. We just were introduced to Yarly last time, but now we've added some tabs to it. And we set up sessions. We had them come to campus and get us through an implementation, and actually met with groups. And those groups have already formed something around career services. We formed a help desk. We've got library services there and able to answer questions for students if they have it. Tutorial labs. And we're experimenting with how this would work with the help desk also. So these haven't actually been implemented. They're more in testing to see how they would work. Basically, it allows a group of people to be kind of anonymous and serve as staff on the desk, and then students can come in and ask questions versus a model where you have to be online all the time and then students bug you all the time about a variety of different things which aren't your area of expertise. So that's going well. Another thing that has happened since we met last is we've went with an implementation of Rave Wireless for emergency text messaging, and that transition seemed to work well. We've also tested, and we're about ready to make a decision about academic text messaging, at least in terms of announcements that are in Blackboard, allowing students to opt in to have those sent to their text messaging service. So we've created this new website, which is grcc.edu/grcc mobile, where students can go and sign up for these services. I mean, we'd have to roll this out in terms of communication to them, but they would opt in. So there's some concerns about it costing students to get these text messages, and we'll inform them of that, and they would need to opt in to choose to do that service. So that's some of the things that have been happening, almost 2 months since we last talked about it. And in terms of recommendations, you maybe can't see that text too well up there. I was jotting down some notes to myself. I would like to see us use Facebook as a communications tool for students. And they're doing it themselves already, but I'd like for us to figure out how we can be more purposeful, first in terms of identifying what types of communications we need to get out to students. And, whatever those are, currently we think about sending them out by email, that actually putting them on the Facebook, GRCC Facebook site and getting them out, messaging out on Facebook would be part of our communication plan.
And if I may piggyback on that, pause a moment. Oracle, which owns PeopleSoft now, at EDUCAUSE a week or two ago, was it 2 weeks ago, Gary, announced new functionality, a new module, whatever it is, I'm not sure exactly. Steve was just telling me about it yesterday, but it will integrate with Facebook and Blackboard in the, not yet, but the new standard that Blackboard has to get to. That is huge in that it's the kind of messaging back and forth. So the course data that would allow it to automatically be populated in Facebook for students to opt in the way it is in Blackboard now, and then potentially back and forth. It will even address the gradebook to PeopleSoft kinds of issues. So for them to go ahead and implement that kind of functionality between an enterprise data system and a social networking site, they're understanding the connectedness between that for student applications also.
It's interesting, as we've talked about, in essence, the way we're going to communicate with students, we're investigating this mandatory email, GRCC email. In light of how things are changing, is that really the best method? Yes, it works, exactly, where things changing. And also when you talk to schools that have done that, is there, I guess from my reference I'm thinking of, is there an opportunity for student to opt in to the message that will reach them? So in other words, is it a text message, is it a Facebook message, is it an email message, snail mail? Is there some kind of a system that in an automated way, whatever we think those announcements are, would get to them?
Yeah, I mentioned that last time that, I showed you some studies that basically say students think email is for old people. So they will use it to communicate with me. Right. So, if forced to, they will check it, but they don't want to use it. It's confusing to them. They've got other means. So I recommend moving to a model where they can select among different ways of receiving the information and putting it more into their hands. Because right now we have this awkward process where they have an account, they don't know they have the account. We got to train them on the fact that they have an account, and then they don't want to use the account. So.
This is anecdotal. Last week with the neurovirus, I have 3 nephews at Hope College. My understanding from them is the most accurate information and the best counts for how many students were getting sick was on a Facebook account that a student had set up. And the college piggybacked on it. They realized that they were getting the most accurate counts of how many students were sick from that Facebook account.
Wow.
Anything else?
I just encourage us to continue to put emphasis as a council on academic text messaging. I think, like Vicki said earlier, LRTS needs to know what our priorities are, and that we've got the emergency text messaging in place, but allowing students to pick that option and move forward in that piece will take work to do. So that needs to be a priority. Probably, a lot of these other things are just projects that are ongoing. I would like us, though, to really consider where we want to head in terms of laptops for students or mobile devices. And, that's a cost issue, but perhaps even at the least giving them clear options for how they could purchase an inexpensive laptop. And I know we do a little of that already, but we could really emphasize that more.
There are a couple of new models out. If you saw the one that Gary has, it's a pretty sweet little device, and it's got the integrated webcam, and it's a little smaller keyboard. Tina and I were kind of doing this with it, but we've got a couple new models coming in also. Bob saw some down at EDUCAUSE, which are the new Lenovo devices, the EPC that they've tested. There are a couple of other new iterations of that we're going to get in just to take a look at and get some test experience with. How easy are they to use? Some come with XP. Because the price points are really coming down, and if we're buying in bulk, then potentially, they're about, what, $300 were the price points of these devices now, and full Wi-Fi, the webcam, the whole business. And Andy just sent out, if you've been keeping up on the Gates Foundation, they've recently made a significant announcement that where they want to start directing dollars is into community colleges for some things. So Andy's got Judith already looking at potentially what some grant funding things are. But it is something, I think Gary's right, at what point, if we know these price points are coming down and we believe that this kind of device is an important learning tool, do we begin to make an expectation? It is, and then build that in. Is it connected to the issue of digital textbook? Well, if you buy this, you don't have to buy the textbooks because we'll use digital textbooks for you then, and you can kind of do some sort of cost comparison or swap there. It just...
I think that I'm hearing you, and it sounds more and more like college action project.
Yeah, one thing I'm running into on budget, if I ask for Perkins funding or other budget funding to put laptops in the classroom, that seems to be generally supported. But if I ask for wireless devices or laptops that students can take out of the classroom, that usually meets with some objection. And I think we really, as part of that action project, would need to look at possibly fielding a class with laptops that or wireless devices students could actually take with them. And two more quick recommendations. One, the student said video. All the data supports this, that they are totally into communicating with each other and wanting communications from faculty through video. So as we see project requests, budget items related to hosting video, audio files, getting equipment to allow faculty to quickly record messages and put their lecture online. That's something that I think we ought to look like. And finally, as a note, as we were having that previous discussion about Blackboard, is you see all the integration that's coming with Blackboard. You see how students are responsive to these surveys in Blackboard. They are using it. I really feel like we need to have full-time Blackboard administrator support to do this work and continue to emphasize integrating these tools with Blackboard.
One other thing, just not to lose it out of the presentation today, was this idea of a student option on how they want to be communicated
Yes.
with. And it seems like that is in itself a project that if we wanted to move forward with, would take some work to put together. But I really think that we should look into that idea that one size certainly does not fit all of our students. And if our intention is to communicate with all of them, then how could we get those options? So that also seems like another action.
Yeah, I think it really has an impact on student retention. If they never get the message, then
Cost savings.
right.
So we went a bit over. I'm afraid I was late. I was meeting with one of the trustees. Thank you very much.